On 5 News, cracking down on the football hooligans at Euro 2016. Russia is warned it'll be kicked out if there's more trouble inside the grounds. A shock new video emerges of thugs attacking England fans. With the FA voicing concerns over safety, Downing Street announces more British police are being sent to the tournament. Also, new details of the Orlando killer. Reports he had previously visited the gay club where he killed 49 people. A survivor tells us he appeared to smile as he shot.
He was standing there looking at us like we were just nothing. He had a little smirk on his face.
Terror in France. A police chief and his wife are stabbed to death by a man claiming allegiance to so-called Islamic State. And as Oscar Pistorius appears in court to be sentenced for murdering Riva Steenkamp, her father describes his pain.
Finding out what happened, it devastated us. Oscar has to pay for what he did.
Hello and welcome to 5 News. I'm Sian Williams. Efforts to stamp out hooliganism at Euro 2016 have intensified dramatically today. Russia's been given a suspended disqualification for its fans' behaviour inside the stadium after Saturday night's game in Marseille, with UEFA saying any more trouble and it's out. It's been fined too. Meanwhile, French police have arrested large groups of Russians they blame for causing violence outside the ground. More British officers are now being sent to patrol Lille, where English and Russian fans are likely to mix again in the coming days. From there, Peter Lane reports.
Sickening pictures shot from a small camera worn by a Russian thug in what appears to be an orchestrated attack on England fans in Marseille at the weekend. The Russians carry sticks and pick up chairs as they pounce. Much of the footage too distressing to broadcast, but it's not this Russia has been punished for. Their suspended disqualification comes after a group of Russians charged at England supporters inside the stadium. Russia's players know the risk if it happens again.
We want to play this competition. We are very happy to be here, and that's what would be a very stupid thing, and it's going to be a big disappointment if we go out and for the whole country.
And from UEFA, an acknowledgement that efforts to segregate the two sets of fans weren't good enough.
We will implement additional corrective measures for the games coming up in Lens and Lille, and we hope that those measures will be sufficient to avoid any other crowd trouble during the matches.
As attention moves to Lille, there's concern, not least from the FA. Russia play here tomorrow. England play in nearby but much smaller Lens on Thursday, so both sets of supporters will congregate here.
You'll note I'm not wearing an England strip. England colours in any way, so I've come incognito, for want of a better word.
Yeah, I just want to get to the hotel, probably take my England shirt off, and then, yeah, hopefully enjoy a good game later.
Now, the important thing to make clear is that the punishment handed down to Russia today is only about what happened inside the stadium, so it doesn't let England off the hook, because both teams still face a separate, wider warning from UEFA about the behaviour of their fans. Any more violence anywhere from them during this tournament, and England and Russia could be sent home. So for a second day, the England squad have been talking about the danger of fans cutting short the football.
It would be devastating. Our message is for everyone just to be safe and sensible, and by all means enjoy their day, enjoy the match, but be respectful.
And mindful of the scenes we witnessed last weekend, more UK police are being deployed to France.
I have no doubt whatsoever, if you come and commit problems, you will go to prison in France. We've had 6 England fans imprisoned already, so if you come in to cause trouble, this is not the place to come, because you will face consequences.
These pictures may have only just emerged, but they are stark proof of how far some so-called football fans at Euro 2016 will go.
So, Peter, let's talk about this punishment handed down to Russia today. Do you think it's going to work?
Well, the Russians certainly aren't happy about it. The hope is that it will make a significant difference. Most fans are hearing the messages loud and clear through that, messages from the teams themselves, from politicians, police, UEFA. But the concern is, of course, that a small, determined, hardcore of troublemakers will carry on regardless. Now, of course, England play Wales on Thursday, so the Welsh fans may well be worried about the kind of atmosphere that they will enter in this corner of France. But there have been a number of arrests of suspected Russian hooligans today, and there will be much tighter controls on the sale of alcohol, drinking in the street and bar opening times here, and the theory is that that will make a difference.
Peter, Neil, thank you. An England fan who took part in the violence in Marseille has been given a 5-year football ban. Daniel Warlow was stopped at Birmingham Airport by a police officer who recognised him from this photograph showing him throwing a chair ahead of the game on Saturday. His lawyer admitted he was banged to rights, but said he had been provoked by a group of Russians. It's emerged that Omar Mateen, the gunman who shot dead 49 people in a gay bar in Orlando, had been to the venue several times before. It's not clear why, but witnesses say they believe he'd been there to pick up other men, one even saying they had exchanged messages on a dating app. One survivor of the attack has been telling 5 News how he played dead to escape the carnage. From Orlando, Julian Drucker reports.
49 people who became the 49 victims were remembered here by thousands. They came to a special vigil in the centre of the city. A chance to say goodbye to those who lost their lives in Orlando's atrocity, and to show defiance.
We are here to stay. On behalf of Pulse, we want to send all of our love and thank you for your messages. Thank you for the
This from the surviving staff of the nightclub where the attack took place.
Organised in just a few hours, this community vigil is being held for a city to reflect on its most horrific day.
All of the victims of Sunday morning's tragedy have now been identified. They were mainly in their 20s and 30s. And further details are emerging about the man behind the barbarism. 29-year-old Omar Mateen had visited the venue several times over the last 3 years, according to reports. There's been no official comment on the claims. As investigators continue their examination of the area around the nightclub, one of those who survived the violence returned. Marcus told me how he somehow made it out alive.
I survived by jumping up from where I was because I played dead. So I jumped up, I jumped on the table, I jumped over that wall, I ran right to that 7-Eleven that you see right across that street. I ran right to that 7-Eleven.
Marcus also glimpsed the man who was about to kill 49 people.
Did you see Omar Mateen?
That name. Oh my God, that name. I seen that snake and the way he was standing there looking at us like we were just nothing. He had a little smirk on his face. He had this evil smirk on his face, and he was just, it was terrible.
At Orlando's main hospital, where the most seriously injured survivors are being treated, flowers and messages are in abundance. I spoke to Eddie, who left the club moments before the attack. He'd just said goodnight to his close friend, 32-year-old Christopher Leinonen, who was killed.
I think love is what will conquer. I have had so much love from my family and my friends and the victims' families, and I have to be strong for them. And I have to be strong for the world. We can't get under a stone and let these people get the best of us.
The last 48 hours have shown a city at its best, coping with a moment which has been one of America's worst.
And Julian, tell us about the attack. What more do we know about it today that we didn't know yesterday?
chance and clarity in the last hour from the hospital treating the most seriously injured survivors. 44 of them were taken to hospital on Sunday. Now we know that there are 27 people still there. 6 of them are critically ill in intensive care, and the most senior doctor there said he fears that that death toll could rise. Less clarity today, though, about the gunman, Omar Mateen. Those reports in the US media that he visited the club here several times. Some of the regulars telling the US media that he was a regular also. The people we've spoken to who go there regularly, though, say they don't recognise him from those pictures. But the biggest question remains, though, was this person simply inspired by ISIS, or was he specifically directed by them?
Julian, thank you. Well, here, the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge have written in a book of condolence to the victims. William and Kate left a message at the American Embassy in London offering their thoughts and prayers to all those affected. Last night, there was a minute's silence and then applause as thousands of people attended a vigil in Old Compton Street in Soho, the heart of London's gay community. While it's not yet clear what involvement, if any, so-called Islamic State had on the atrocity in Orlando, an attack in France is being called an act of terror carried out by a known jihadist with links to the group. A police commander and his partner were stabbed to death in Paris by an attacker who says he was answering an appeal by ISIS leader. The couple's 3-year-old child was rescued. Simon Vigar reports.
Laroussi Abala, the latest young Frenchman to carry out a terrorist attack on home soil. He lay in wait for a police officer in his garden and then repeatedly stabbed him. Abala then went inside and killed the policeman's wife. SWAT teams went in to get him when they realised he may be about to kill the couple's 3-year-old boy. Abala not only knew his victim, he broadcast part of the siege on social media.
C'est un acte incontestablement terroriste.
The French president branded it an undeniably terrorist act. François Hollande said both the perpetrator and the organisation to which he had pledged allegiance claimed the attack. 25-year-old Laroussi Abala was a French jihadist who French police knew well. He was first arrested in 2011 and imprisoned for 2.5 years in 2013 for trying to recruit jihadists to fight in Pakistan. Detectives admit they had been tapping his phone, but say there was no hard evidence to suggest he was planning an attack. He claimed allegiance to so-called Islamic State in his final messages. Police have arrested 3 of the attacker's contacts and also found a hit list containing the names of public figures. With Euro 2016 underway, the stakes could not be higher. Simon Vigar, 5 News.
Still to come on the programme.
He must have been in so much fear and pain.
A father's grief as Riva Steenkamp's dad gives evidence against Oscar Pistorius. And yours for a cool £50 million. 5 News gets a look at the largest diamond in the world. All that and more after the break. Welcome back. You're watching 5 News. He thinks of her morning, noon and night. He relives her death. He even self-harmed to try to understand the pain that she was going through. Barry Steenkamp came to a courtroom in South Africa today and delivered a pained and emotional testimony about the death of his daughter, Riva, shot dead by boyfriend Oscar Pistorius. Layla Hayes reports.
Oscar Pistorius arriving in court for a hearing that will decide whether he could face 15 years in jail for murdering his girlfriend, Riva Steenkamp.
Raise your right hand and say, "So help me God."
So help me God.
Today, giving evidence for the first time, Riva's father described their family's pain.
Every day of my life, morning, noon, at night, early hours of the morning, I think of her all the time. I don't wish that on any human being. Finding out what happened, it devastated us.
Riva Steenkamp was shot dead by Pistorius through his bathroom door. Today, her father, who had a stroke soon after her death, described the moment his wife June told him what had happened.
She mentioned Riva. She says, come home immediately, and Riva's name was there. And that's when I started the panic. And then driving home, I realised more and more Riva's been killed. It hit me then. It's like it happened yesterday.
Pistorius was found guilty of murdering Riva after a court overturned an earlier manslaughter verdict. Today, her father said photos of his daughter's body should be made public.
What I would like the world to see are the wounds inflicted onto Riva and the pain that she must have gone through.
Riva's father says he and his wife have forgiven Oscar Pistorius, but that doesn't exonerate him.
Oscar has to pay for what he did. He has to pay for it. He has to pay for his crime.
Oscar Pistorius will be sentenced later this week. Barry Steenkamp says he would like to meet and talk with him one day, but not yet. Layla Hayes, 5 News.
Now, do you think the NHS is safer if we stay in the EU, or will it be better off if we're out? The Leave campaign has claimed that much more money will go to the health service if Britain quits. Today, Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn challenged that, calling it an outright lie. This morning, the UK's biggest newspaper told its readers there was only one way to vote. Here's our political editor, Andy Bell.
If the polls are right, the momentum is now with the Leave campaign, a fact underlined this morning by the hardly unexpected backing of the Sun newspaper. And increasingly the pressure is on this team to turn that around. Labour voters are vital if the Remain camp is going to have a chance. Today, Jeremy Corbyn, flanked by his shadow cabinet and union leaders, tried to rally them with a call to protect the NHS from the main figures campaigning on the other side.
We're going to protect it from the people like Michael, Nigel and Boris. We're going to protect it there for all time. Healthcare free at the point of use for everybody.
Both sides claim the NHS would be safer with them, so Vote Leave have been pushing the claim that the health service will be one of 2 priorities for any money saved on contributions to the EU.
Throughout this referendum campaign, we've been clear in particular about 2 areas. One is that we would prioritise spending for the NHS, and that is rightly so, but also we would look to cut back VAT on energy bills.
Britain makes a net contribution to the EU after the rebate and the money we get back of a bit more than £8 billion a year. Vote Leave says that's extra money which, if we left, could be spent on the NHS. But many economists say the act of leaving would damage the economy and the public finances, meaning an extra £20 to £40 billion might have to be found in spending cuts or tax rises.
It looks highly probable that the economy would be significantly smaller if we were to leave the European Union than to stay in, and that would be more than enough to outweigh the £8 billion saving that we would get.
He's never been the greatest enthusiast for the EU, but in these last few days, the Remain camp need him to be.
Andy, both sides making claims about the NHS today. Is it possible to know who's right?
Well, as always, you have to make some assumptions, but there is quite a consensus that in the short term at least, the UK economy would take a hit if we were to leave the EU. That would mean less money coming in the form of taxes, therefore potentially less money to spend on the NHS. It simply wouldn't be as simple as to say we would have that extra £8 billion coming back because we weren't making those EU contributions anymore. There would still be a real problem about how you would find that money.
Andy, thank you. Now, when it comes to precious gems, it's fair to say this one is a bit more precious than most. It's a 1,000-carat rough diamond that's expected to fetch tens of millions of pounds at an auction in London. Minnie Stevenson has been to see it.
You are looking at the world's largest diamond to be discovered in over a century, being shown off at Sotheby's auction house before it goes on sale. But if you get rock envy, then look away now. Named the Lesedi La Rona, to be precise, it's 1,109 carat. Just to give you some perspective, the average engagement ring is around 1 carat.
Now that is what you call a rock, a diamond so precious that I've been told I'm not allowed to touch it, which to be honest is probably for the best. Now, given that it's over 3 billion years old. It's in pretty good nick, and it's expected to go for over £50 million, so better get saving.
The diamond, which was discovered last year in Botswana, is the size of a tennis ball. In fact, the only one larger in the world is the Cullinan diamond, part of which now make up the Queen's crown jewels. At over 3,000 carat, no wonder it looks heavy.
I'm nervous not to touch it, of course.
So if diamonds are forever, what's unique about this discovery?
You're looking at something that was formed just after the Earth was formed, I mean 2 to 3 billion years ago. So you're looking at something that is really a fragment of the history of our world.
The diamond will go on sale at the end of this month, but with a £50 million price tag, I'd like to formally declare myself out of the bidding war. Minnie Stevenson, 5 News.
As are all of us. Before we go, Matt's joined us to tell us what's coming up on 5 News tonight. Hello there.
Hi, Sian. Tonight we'll have more on those shocking pictures that have emerged of Russian hooligans attacking England fans in France. The video highlights what's being called a worrying new phenomenon of football violence, that of the professional hooligan. We'll speak to a policing expert about that. And what can the authorities do about so-called lone wolf attackers like the man who killed a policeman and his wife in Paris last night? We'll hear from a former security minister. Those stories and more at 6:30.
Look forward to that. Thanks, Matt. That is it for us, though. Sian Welby has the weather next. I'll see you again tomorrow at 5. Matt's back in an hour. Thanks for watching tonight. Goodbye for now.